And we're up and running. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing on this rainy old Wednesday afternoon? Hope everyone's in a good mood. Hope everyone's in the best of health, and I hope everyone is doing well. Today is my sister Angela's birthday, so we just popped round to see her and to give her a few presents and wish her happy birthday. So yeah, it's all good. It's all birthdays over the last few months. You've got two birthdays in July. That's me and my sister. Mine's the 11th of July, and Pamela is the 13th of July. And then you've got Angela, which is my other sister, and hers is today, the 14th of September. So yeah, we was all born in the summer. We're all summer babies. Happy birthday, Ange. Anyway, guys, after watching a few other people's channels, I'm not actually going to mention no names, but yeah, after watching other people's channels, it's inspired me to upload more content about a few of the old war stories, a few of the old prison stories. I like to mention the old prison stories to give everyone an insight into my background and what things used to be like back in the day. So I'm not glamorising the things what I'm going to talk about. I'm just telling you this is what used to happen back in the day. And I'm going to go back to 1999, or it might have even been year 2000. I just received 12-year sentence at the Old Bailey. I'm sure it was Court 13 for X amount of armed robberies. Actually, I'm going to rewind a little bit. I was on remand in 1998. So this is before I went to court and got sentenced. Because obviously my charges were so heavy, there was no chance of ever getting bail, and we actually stayed on remand for 13 months, me and my codees. I'm not going to mention no codees' names neither because legal reasons. There's a few people on my channel what do know my co-defendants and do know my boys who I used to work with back in the day. But yeah, I'm definitely not going to mention them. But this day in mention I was in Brixton Prison, Jebb Avenue, the good old-fashioned Brixton. It's always been a good old jail, and it probably still is today. Back in the day, you had a black male officer. He was an SO. I can't remember his name, but he had a bald head. He was short. He was stocky, and I believe that his background away from the job was one of the boys. He come off of a council estate, so yeah, he knew the score. He was on the button. He was clued up, and he was quite a good officer, as it happens. I forget his actual name, but yeah, I was basically on remand for these armed robberies and in a single cell because I was an escapee. So basically jumped the dock, escaped from court. That's another story what I want to talk about altogether. But this time I was on remand in Brixton in patches in the jumpsuit, and my cell window faced round the back of Brixton Prison, so just round the back of Jebb Avenue. And what could happen was, or this is what did used to happen, everyone on that side of the wing what faced the side streets of Brixton could talk to people over the wall. There was a pub over there, there was a little few shops, and there was houses. It was a residential area, and Pamela and Angela, which was my both two older sisters, they used to come round the back of the prison and shout up, and I used to have a chat with them for hours and hours and hours at the bar, well, sitting on the bars, you know, with my feet dangling in the cell and twisted up at the cage like that, and one minute I was like that, and the next minute I'm up like that, and I'm down. But yeah, we used to have a laugh, and they used to come round every weekend, and yeah, it was like a visit, but like no contact visit, you know. But we could see each other because I was up on the frieze and I was on the top landing, so I could see them, but they couldn't see me, type of thing, because I was behind the bars. But yeah, it was nice. It was good seeing my family. It was good in one way and bad in another way. Why it was good because you know I've got a very big family network, and I've always had support, and I still have today. But and the bad part of that was when you go to jail, you know, for any length of time, especially for over a decade, what I got, you've got to learn to switch off, and you've got to shut your emotions off. You've got to shut your feelings out. That's the biggest thing. What you need to tackle and what you need to get your head around when you're in jail is your feelings, because your feelings and your emotions can get hold of you, and it can ruin you. So in a way, it was bad in that sense that every time they come round, for hours and hours and hours, I was stuck in the cell, and stories are going round in my head, and as I said, when you get a big length of sentence, you've got to learn to switch off, because my life then was inside the prison on my wing. That was where I lived. That was my place at that time, and I had to adapt to that way of lifestyle, because I knew I had many years ahead of me. But yeah, anyone would do the same thing with their family, go around the back of the neck, and if they could, call up to their loved ones who was sitting behind the peter door, looking at fucking a decade when he got sentenced, like I was. But anyway, couple of doors along from me, on the opposite side of me, so on the same wing but on the opposite side, there is a fellow over there called Colin Green. Now, probably quite a few of my followers know Colin. He's from Croydon, and he was a character and a half, and I mean a character and a half. He used to take a piss out the screws. He'd run behind them and do sit, act like a monkey. The screw could have been a white officer, but he'd still pull all like monkey noises, and it wasn't a race thing whatsoever. It was just, he was a clown. And, 1 minute he'd be acting like a clown, then he'd be acting like a gorilla, then he'd be acting like a pig, doing all them noises. And, he was so funny. He used to run right behind the screws, do you know what I mean? And he used to do it quite a lot out in the exercise yard. Like if a screw was at his back to him, he'd go behind and take a piss out of him. And, at one time he even pulled the screw's truncheon out, and just not to attack the screw or nothing like that, just for a bit of fun. And we was all out in the yard. It was one summer morning, and yeah, Colin pulled the truncheon away from the screw and he was running all around the yard with it hanging it above his head like that. He was a character and a half. And he used to get put down the block, put down the seg, 7 days solitary confinement. He'd come back up and he'd do the same thing again. That's just how some people deal with their sentence, by having a bit of banter, not taking things very, very seriously, and just getting on with it. And, when you're doing little sentences, like he was only doing a carpet, which is 3 years. When you're only doing that little sentence, even if you lose all your remission, even if you lose all of your bird, it doesn't make no difference, as long as you don't get outside charges, because at the end of the day, they can only hold you for your LDR, which is your longest date of release, which is 3 years. So it didn't care to people like Colin and other people. But I was doing 12 years, and I had a lot to lose, and I did lose a lot, and I got a lot of it back towards the end of my sentence when I started knuckling down. Anyway, let's get back to the story, what this podcast is about. So Colin lived on the opposite side of the landing to me, and he was getting gear every day, and he wasn't getting visits. So when I mean gear, I mean booting gear, yeah, the hard stuff. And in jail, that was the drug to take, because, that's what got you out your nut. That's what got your head away from the situation you was in at that time. And, if you could be gouged out all day, and sometimes it reverses it when your tolerance goes up. Instead of it gouging you, it has a reverse cycle, and it races you up. So, yeah, I noticed every day, out in the yard, he was giving me bits and pieces, and he wasn't letting on where he was getting his gear from. And by this time, I probably spent about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months with him. So, it wasn't like he come in with a parcel up his bottle and got it out and was using that neither, because we was in too long for a parcel to last that long. Because, when you go to jail and you've got a parcel on Elephant and Castle, that you get it out, and you might tell your cellmate, and you'll keep it quiet for the first few days, but that cat does definitely get let out of that bag, and you'll have people on you like flies to shit after a while. If once someone knows you've got gear in jail, that's it all over you, like a fucking rash. But yeah, I noticed every day that Colin was getting having bits of gear, and he was giving me bits of gear, and he still weren't letting on. So after a couple of weeks, of me asking him, where are you getting your gear from? Because I wanted to jump on a bandwagon with him, and that's what things were like years ago. You do anything to get a bit of gear and to take your mind out of the situation for a few days. So if you could have a few days on the gear and like the rest of the week off of the gear, then that was all well and good. That's what you look forward to the next week, and that's what got many people through their sentences. It didn't get me through my sentence, but and I'm not glamorising it in any shape or form. I was just telling you what went on. So yeah, one afternoon is around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I know the screws were just gone on lunch for a dinner break, and there's no screws on the landing. And the only screws what was on the landing were the screws that were given out the postal orders and next day deliveries. So the mailman had come round, the mail screw had come round, and it wasn't just normal mail; it was special deliveries and things like that. So when I say special deliveries, I mean things like R37A letters, which is a letter which the prison are not allowed to open and look into because it could be concerning the case what you're in there for. So no one, as soon as that letter has got on a stamp on it, R37A, that means the letter is coming straight from your solicitor straight to you. And one afternoon, one of the screws dropped their letter off to Colin, and normally what you had to do when the screw dropped a solicitor's letter off to you, you didn't have to show him the content of what was in the letter, what was written on the letter. Sorry, you didn't have to stand there and read it out, or you didn't have to give him the letter for him to read it out. That was against your data protection. But what you had to do, you had to get the letter out of the envelope and you had to shake the letter so that the screw could see there was no security risk coming out of that letter in ways, shapes or forms of razor blades, axles and things like that. Anyway, this afternoon, what I'm talking about, this screw, the same screw, had been going to Colin's door, giving him his solicitor's letters once a week, every week for 3 months. And I thought that was all to do with his case until this point, what I'm going to tell you. So this afternoon, he's give Colin his letter, and like Colin, what he normally done, because he'd got a few letters off of him, as I said to you, one a week for 3 months. This afternoon, I was looking out my hatch. You've got a little spile on your door and you can look out, and sometimes you can, like, one of the screws will leave your flap open. If they're all right screws, they leave your flap open, and you can, if you've got a skinny head like me, you can put your head out the flap and your neck. And yeah, that was a result for me. I used to be able to do that. Done about now, so I put a bit of weight on. But anyway, as the screws give Colin his letter, he's all happy, and he's trying to talk to the screw and try and divert the screw's mind to get him off of the letter. And he's ripped the envelope open, and Colin's grabbed the letter out and he shook the letter, and out dropped from the letter was a parcel of heroin. So it fell straight onto the floor, and Colin was behind his Peter door. It's a good rhyme, isn't it? It fell on the floor and Pete was behind his door. Colin was behind his door. He couldn't get it. Now the screw got it. He found it. And that was the end of that. Colin, that's when I found out that Colin was having R37A letters written to him by his family, or not his family, his friends, pretending to be solicitors. They wasn't solicitors. They just got the approval stamp, and they had their brown envelopes, which was a ringer of the solicitor's letters. So that's how he was getting his gear in every other day. The screw was taking it to his door. Can you imagine that? And he was saying thanks to the screw as the screw's dropping him off his parcel. And anyway, I couldn't believe it. I was in fits of laughter, to be honest with you, banging my door, and it was funny. But Colin didn't find it funny, obviously, and the screws opened Colin's door up. A few minutes later, the screw radioed through for backup, and the backup come, the Muffy squad come, and off Colin went down in the seg. Now, I was in Peter, so when we got let out on association, below the wing is the segregation unit, and you can actually go into one of the cells on the ones, look out the window. You can't see, but you can talk to people in the seg because they're still able to talk at the window. Now, I've gone down to the ones. I knew exactly where what cell Colin was in, because the segregation cleaner, which was an inmate, he was on my landing, and he told me exactly what cell Colin was in. So I went to the cell above him, and I was banging on the floor, and that would have been Colin's ceiling. And I said, "Get to the window, get to the window." And we was talking at the window for, I don't know, about 10 minutes, and we arranged for me to go onto a visit. Now, this was arranged from Colin. So Colin arranged his friend to meet me this is the measures what people used to do for gear back in the days, guys, yeah? I'm not glamorising it, this is just a true story. So, yeah, we arranged it at the window that I think it was like that Friday, a few days later, that I'd be getting a visit, and it'd be from one of his pals, and it'd just be a handshake on the visit, bang, straight up the old bottle, the parcel, and I'd go back to the wing. And, the next day I'd be doing the same again, jumping on the cell floor, going into that cell, and getting Colin to the window. And then what I would do, I'd rip a piece of sheet, a line off, because even the segregation unit in Brixton, it had cages on the window, but I was able to open the windows about that far. So yeah, I'll drop a line down with the parcel in it and give half of the parcel to Colin. So I took the visit, got the handshake, bang up the old arse with it, and it's gone. It's in the bank. Now, it was that blatant, and this is the measured what I used to do. It was that blatant that the screws, one of the screws on the jump noticed the hand movement of me with my hand going down my trousers. He couldn't actually see me with the parcel, but he definitely see that hand movement going down the back. And within a few seconds, I was quickly wrapped up by the screws and taken down a segregation unit under investigation for bringing drugs into the prison. By now, I don't give a flying fuck, because as far as I'm concerned, it was a gamble whether I was going to get caught or not. But one thing was for sure, I wasn't getting that parcel. So they flogged me down to the segregation unit, put me in the Peter, and put me on good order and discipline. And yeah, but this time when they put me in the segregation unit, I was right down the other end of the seg. I was on the other side of the wing of the seg, so I couldn't see Colin, and we couldn't hear each other. The only time I see Colin was when he walked past my cell and went on to exercise, or went into the phone booth, because you're allowed half hour or an hour exercise a day. And yeah, I remember, like, it was, I don't know, probably about the 5th day after I got the parcel, I was down in my Peter downstairs. I had a lighter drop from downstairs. I did the Jimmy off of the old open packet, melted it up, got the Jimmy off it, and I was having a boot down in the Peter, down in the seg. And I didn't want to go back up on the landing, because as far as I was concerned, I had a quarter ounce. So it was a quarter ounce of H what I got. And I was down there booting it. Anyway, Colin kept saying, slide it out, and I kept putting him off, saying to him, look, listen, the screws are right outside my Peter. There's no way in the world am I going to be able to get this out. And he said, I don't care about the screws, like you didn't care. Do it right in front of him. But I weren't prepared to get myself nicked, or I weren't prepared to, at this time, I wasn't prepared to do anything, because it gave me a raging habit. And cut a long story short, I smoked the whole parcel. I was handing bits and pieces back up and down upstairs, and I was getting tobacco sent down, and that parcel was going all around the landing. So that's why the quarter ounce didn't last that long. I was even doing handouts, send-outs. People was putting money into my account and things like that through digits. So yeah, that parcel disappeared. Let's go forward now. So that was that story. So when I got sentenced, I'm in Belmarsh. Now I'm an E-man, and I'm sentenced to 12 years. So Colin wasn't in there, but one day Colin landed in there. So the next day I'm out on the exercise yard. Colin's come up to me, put his arm around me and said, hello, stranger. I looked round and I thought, oh no, here we go. It's on top here. It's going to be a right bad fight here. Because people get killed. People literally lose their life down to £10 worth of gear in jail. But I knew Colin outside, and he knows me outside, so it wasn't like that. But yeah, Colin said to me, he said, he laughed let's put it this way, he laughed in the end and said, Joe, you know, if the shoe was on the other foot, he would have done the same thing. So yeah, he laughed in the end, and he see both sides of the coin. Luckily enough, he weren't a dog. Do you know what I mean? Because if he was the dog, I'm sure one of us would have ended up probably getting seriously hurt. But I'm going to leave this video here, guys. But this is the measures what I used to go to get a bit of gear, and in jail, you know, and other things like kamikazes. Do you know what I mean? Dealers would give me, like, I don't know, 5 joeys to you know, run into someone's Peter, plunge them up, you know, and not pay the not think about the consequences of my actions, you know, and because there was no outside charges, you know, the bloke would go on the old alarm, the screws would come, they'd put you down and say, but that's the measures you would go to get it. You was prepared to take anything, any punishment what got given to you, just to have that little bit of gear to take you out for the day, guys. But yeah, I'm going to get this video uploaded, and it's a subject which I'm going to be talking about quite a lot. So I'll be doing a part 2 to it probably later on. I hope you enjoyed the story, guys. Peace.